In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what is arguably one of the most difficult Spanish constructions for English speakers to learn and incorporate into our Spanish. I know, because I'm an English speaker. Here's what I'm talking about. Take a look at this sentence in English. Maria broke the glasses. When I'm talking about glasses, I'm talking about drinking glasses here, folks. Now take a look at these two possible translations in Spanish. María rompió los vasos. Pretty straightforward, right? How about this one? A María se le rompieron los vasos. That first one definitely mirrors English. The word order is the same. Maria is the subject of the sentence. Then we have our verb and the object. What's broken? The glasses is at the end. I like it. Nice and easy. But that second one, this is the construction I'm going to be talking about in this video. This doesn't resemble English at all. In English, if we had to translate this literally, we would come up with something like, to Maria broke themselves the glasses, and then we're still left with that ley in there. Why is that ley stuck in there? And it's used with other verbs too, not just romper. The good news is that all of these verbs follow the exact same pattern, so by the end of this video, you shouldn't have any trouble with this construction at all. At least that's the idea, right? All right, let's take a look at the English sentence I translated at the beginning of the video. Maria broke the glasses. Drinking glasses, folks, drinking glasses. In English, this sentence doesn't tell us if she did it intentionally or accidentally. If we wanted to specify which one it was, we would have to add something else to the sentence, like Maria broke the glasses on purpose, or Maria broke the glasses by accident. But in Spanish, you have some additional options to help you show intent and or assign blame. So, Maria broke the glasses, María rompió los vasos. Let's take a look at that first. In this sentence, the blame is clearly placed on Maria. She may not have done it intentionally, but if it was intentionally, this is the construction we would choose. But what's with that other construction? Well, in Spanish, there's a tendency to use alternative constructions to soften the message, to take the blame off the person and actually place it on the item itself. Los vasos se rompieron. The glasses broke themselves. We're using the pronominal form here. In English, probably closer to the glasses got broken, okay? We're not even mentioning Maria, so we're not putting any blame on her whatsoever. But that's still not really explaining our last construction, because we still want to put Maria in there, right? So that's where this one comes from. We want to mention Maria, but we're going to take some of the blame off of her. A María se le rompieron los vasos. That's our construction. That's our pattern of the day. Right away, you probably notice that los vasos, the glasses, jump to the end of the sentence. They're showing up after the verb. Spanish word order is a lot more flexible than English word order. This is a constant source of frustration for us English speakers. I have a couple of videos about word order that you can watch after this one. But for the purposes of this pattern, this is what we're going to be following, okay? This way we'll be able to do it every single time. So let's go ahead and do a breakdown here. Let's take a look at what we have going on. Right up there in front, we have a María. To Maria. Why is that there? Well, it's saying to Maria because she's not the subject of the sentence. In English, when we said Maria broke the glasses, right? Maria is the subject, she controls the verb. What's broken? What's the object of the sentence? Glasses. And when we say María rompió los vasos, we're still following that. Subject, verb, object, order. That's not what we're doing here. We're still taking our passive construction. The glasses broke themselves, but we're adding Maria. So the glasses is the subject. The verb is going to agree with them. They're still breaking themselves or got broke. But we're showing who was affected by this. Then right after that, after a María, we have se le rompieron. That's our pronominal passive voice, right? The verb has to agree with the subject, which is glasses, which we stuck at the end back there. So that's where se rompieron came from. But where'd that ley come from? Why is that ley there? Because we're not exactly translating it into English, are we? No, we're not. And that's why this gets more confusing. You may have noticed this ley pop up when you talk about other things, like when you learn to say someone likes something, right? Maria likes strawberries. In Spanish, that's very similar to this construction because you don't like something, something is pleasing to you. So saying that Maria likes strawberries, we would really be saying, to Maria, strawberries are pleasing. So we would come up with something like, a María le gustan las fresas. Does that look familiar? I'm throwing that out there because even as a beginning Spanish student, one of the first things you want to be able to say is that somebody likes something. So that's when you start seeing this weird construction where something's pleasing to someone. What we're doing today is taking that and just taking it a step further. So in that sentence, I'm mentioning Maria. A Maria. To Maria, the strawberries are pleasing. We got that le in there. What is that le? That is still referring to Maria. If we took a Maria off and we just said, le gustan las fresas, then we could say, she likes the strawberries. But if we want to specify Maria, we would put her in there. A Maria le gustan las fresas. The le is still there. This is called the redundant le in Spanish, or redundant pronoun. Don't worry if a lot of this seems confusing at first and I'm throwing out grammatical terms that are probably more confusing than the pattern. We're going to be talking about this all through the rest of the video and repeating this pattern with different verbs until you're going to be like, all right, Paul, I got it, all right? That le in there is actually an indirect object pronoun. So just a reminder about what our indirect object pronouns are. Here they are again. Me, te, le, nos, os, and les. That's what's going to be going in there. And it's going to have to agree with, well, whoever the object is or whatever the object is. In this case, it's Maria. Right? So you got third person singular, le, that's what gets dropped in. Now you might be wondering how to put this on your word list, or how you're going to be reminded that this verb will work this way. Well, here's a good way to do it. Instead of just writing romperse, that something gets broken, write this, rompersele, rompersele, on your word list. That way you'll be like, oh, this is one of those verbs that Paul talked about. When we cover the other verbs today that follow this pattern, we're going to be presenting them in the same way, with that le stuck on the end. It's more of a reminder for you. So let's see if you understand the pattern. Translate this using that pattern. Juan broke the computer. Accidentally, all right? We're not putting a lot of blame on Juan. Let's see what you come up with. You ready? A Juan se le rompió la computadora. Did you get something like that? Now, if we're talking about the word for computer and you got something different, maybe you're studying more, European or Spain Spanish and you got el ordenador, that's fine. Maybe you're studying Colombian Spanish and so you wrote el computador, that's fine. What I want to focus on here is the pattern. One part of that pattern that can disappear is right up there in front where you're talking about who's affected, the a Juan. That can go away if you know you're talking about Juan. That's similar to what I just talked about when I said, a María le gustan las fresas. And then I dropped a María and just said, le gustan las fresas. So I could just say, se le rompió la computadora, and that would just be, he broke the computer. If you're trying to decide whether or not to leave off that beginning, think of it this way. If it's clear from context who you're talking about, you can leave it off. If it's very clear from that indirect object pronoun we're using, who we're talking about, you can leave it off. For example, I broke the glasses, right? We looked at our indirect object pronouns. We can see that's going to be me. That can't belong to anybody else. I could just say, se me rompieron los vasos. I broke the glasses. If I want to add a mí, I could. I could specify that. A mí se me rompieron los vasos. But why put that there? Why confuse things? Just take it off. Se me rompieron los vasos. You go ahead and try this one. You're going to be using the informal you, the tú form. You broke the door. Meaning the door went and broke on you. I'm not blaming you too much, right? Try that one. Se te rompió la puerta. See, that te told us who it was. If you wanted to make it longer, you could put a ti in the beginning. A ti se te rompió la puerta. But why, right? Se te rompió la puerta. Keep your life simple. Now that I've covered the basic pattern, I'm going to go through some other common verbs that follow the same pattern. Next one on our word list is caérsele, to drop something. And you notice I'm writing it with that le on the end. Why? To remind you that it follows this pattern. Caérsele. We're going to use this one when somebody accidentally drops something. Go ahead and try to translate this one. Maria dropped the glass. I know you might be saying, Paul, you just showed us the verb just now. I know, but I already showed you the pattern. So now you've seen the verb, use the pattern. Maria dropped the glass. A María se le cayó el vaso. Did you get it? I hope you did. If you did, you've got this thing down. You're starting to understand how it works. Go ahead and translate this one. I dropped the keys. Talking about myself here. Se me cayeron las llaves. Or you might have had the longer version. A mí se me cayeron las llaves. Why is it cayeron? Because it's llaves, which is plural. The verb belongs to the thing dropped. All right, go ahead and translate this one. Juan dropped the book. Accidentally, right? A Juan se le cayó el libro. Getting it? All right, let's move on to another verb that follows this pattern. Acabársele, acabársele, to run out of. And why is that lay there? That's how we're remembering, folks. That's it. This one's pretty common. You're going to see this one and hear it a lot. Here's an example. Well, I don't even want to give you an example. I'm going to give you the English, and you're going to figure it out, okay? Because it's following the pattern. Maria ran out of coffee. All right? I'm going to get a drink while you work it out. Don't overthink it. Don't try to translate literally. Just follow the pattern. A María se le acabó el café. Literally, to Maria, the coffee ran out. Did you forget the little el café? That kind of thing? The coffee, or did you just say café? With this one, you're going to be using, a definite article in this case, or it could be an indefinite article if that's appropriate, but you're going to need something there, all right? You'll see as we go through these. Now try this one. I ran out of coffee. Se me acabó el café. That's a shortened version. What would be the long one? A mí se me acabó el café. How about this one? We're going to change it up just a little bit. Same pattern. My professor ran out of patience. And remember, we need that definite article in there. So he's really running out of the patience. A mi profesor se le acabó la paciencia. Did you get that? If you've got that, you've nailed this. I mean, don't turn the video off because we're going to cover some other verbs. You might want to know those. But don't worry about the pattern. You got it. While we're here, let's do one more with this verb. We ran out of options. Ready? Se nos acabaron las opciones. Literally, the options ran out to us. Right? Literally. But we're not overthinking it, but that does help us remember. Now, as you read through some of these examples, there are other ways to say these things in Spanish. For example, we ran out of options. I might just say, we didn't have any more options, or something like, nos quedamos sin opciones. I'm not saying there's only one way to translate these things. I'm just saying, when you're using these constructions with these verbs, this is the pattern you're going to be using. Before I move on to the next verb, I just want to talk about this a little bit, just acabarse by itself. It's going to be pretty common to use this in Latin America, even if something affects you, running out of it affects you. For example, I'm in the kitchen, I'm looking to see if there's any more coffee, because I love coffee, and I'm going to yell something to my wife. ¿Hay más café? Is there any more coffee? She might just yell, se acabó, se acabó. It ran out. I'm not saying who that's affecting. I'm just using the pronominal, right, the passive voice to say it ran out. This is really common in Latin America. Let's move on to our next verb that follows this pattern. Perdérsele, to lose something. And here's the one you're going to translate. Juan lost his wallet. Oh, I just kicked something there. All right. Juan lost his wallet. You got that one? A Juan se le perdió la cartera or la billetera, depending where you're from. One thing that might be bothering some folks is that in English, I said Juan lost his wallet. But in the Spanish translation, I had Juan lost the wallet, la cartera. Here's the reason for that. In Spanish, when you're talking about articles of clothing or things that are intimately associated with a person, like your wallet, then the tendency is to use the definite article, right? El, la, los, las, if it's plural, instead of, possessives. So a wallet would fall into that category, because why would Juan have someone else's wallet? It's probably his wallet. Now, if I had to specify it's his wallet, because we have a bunch of wallets or something, then I would say su cartera. But otherwise, who else's wallet would Juan have lost? So we're just going to use the definite article in Spanish. A Juan se le perdió la cartera. Would su cartera be wrong? No, it just may not be the tendency for native speakers. Some may like it, some may not. Just something to keep in mind. Let's move on to our next one. Olvidársele, to forget something. And there are a lot of different ways to say to forget in Spanish. You can just have olvidar by itself. Olvidarse de is to forget something. And then you have this construction, the olvidársele. And that means that something's forgotten, it's not your fault, definitely accidental, and literally it's more forgot itself, and it's affecting you, right? Using this construction, olvidársele, translate this sentence. Juan forgot his keys in the office. Ready? A Juan se le olvidaron las llaves en la oficina. Now, keys. Could be somebody else's keys. You might have had sus llaves en la oficina. That's fine. But if you see the definite article, you'll know why. Okay, who else's keys would Juan have? It could be either way here. As I mentioned, there's 3 different ways to say that somebody forgot something. So let's see what that looks like, all right? Just with olvidar. Juan olvidó las llaves en la oficina. It might have been accidental. It could have been intentional. If it was intentional, that is the one we're going to choose. The other common way is olvidarse de. And with that, Juan would still be the subject. Juan se olvidó de las llaves en la oficina. And then we have the one we just covered, olvidársele, where he forgot, but then Juan becomes the object. So Juan's the subject in the first one, second one, now he's the object. See why it gets confusing? But you've got it, right? Because you're following the pattern. A Juan se le olvidaron las llaves en la oficina. Or sus llaves, either one. One thing I will tell you about using olvidar by itself, if you want to tell somebody to intentionally forget something, that's the one you're going to use. Like, forget it, olvídalo, forget it, olvídalo. Or you're like, olvida tu ex, sigue adelante. Forget your ex, move forward, move on. Go ahead and try this one using olvidársele. We forgot to turn off the light. Now right away you might be going, all right, Paul, that's a verb in there. Usually we've been talking about forgetting nouns. We're forgetting to do something. How's that going to work? Just think singular third person verb conjugations and go. Ready? Se nos olvidó apagar la luz. Just plug in your verb after that, all right? You could say we forgot to go to the store. Se nos olvidó ir a la tienda. Just popping in our verb. You got that? Well, we got this. Patterns. Next one on our list is ocurrírsele. Ocurrírsele, which is not the easiest to say when we're popping it all together because it has a rolling R. And this one means like to occur to someone. And this similar to English. So English speakers, once you get this pattern down, the ones I'm showing you today, tend to like this one. I'm going to give you a longer sentence to translate here, but just remember, you're breaking it down into these components. You're really just popping patterns and things together, all right? It never occurred to Juan to wake up at 6 o'clock in order to avoid the traffic. It's long, but it's still just patterns popped together. And the first one right up there in front is the one we're talking about today. It never occurred to Juan to wake up at 6 o'clock. Ready? A Juan nunca se le ocurrió levantarse a las 6 para evitar el tráfico. Did you get that one? Don't let the longer sentences throw you off. Just break them down to little components. In editing this video, I noticed that I made an error in that last clip. In the English, I wrote wake up, but in the Spanish translation, I actually said to get up. Now in English, I do that. I don't always make the distinction between waking up and getting up. I'll be like, hey, we got to wake up by 6 to arrive on time. We got to get up by 6 to arrive on time. But I got to be specific on this channel. So just to be clear, to wake up is despertarse, and to actually get up is levantarse, because you can wake up and just lay there. You don't have to actually get up. Try this one. 3 possibilities occurred to me. Same pattern, remember? Don't look at the English, look at the Spanish. Ready? Se me ocurrieron tres posibilidades. I almost said dos, right? I was like, trying to get that finger up. Tres posibilidades. Next one on our list is antojársele. Antojársele, which means like to have a craving for something. I saw a Spanish teacher from England talk about it, and he said to fancy something. So it's generally, we use this when we're talking about food. So like, what are you craving? Like, what do you want? I might ask my wife, what are you craving? ¿Qué se te antoja? ¿Qué se te antoja? And what if you wanted to answer that question with, I'm craving a hamburger? Using the same construction, how would you say that? And keep in mind, I'm not saying the hamburger specific when I'm saying a hamburger. So you're going to be using an indefinite article with this particular one. You're going to need some article in there. Definite, indefinite. This one's indefinite. The English is telling us, I'm craving a hamburger. Se me antoja una hamburguesa. You can easily just work around it though, right? And just ask people, what do you want? ¿Qué quieres? And they're like, quiero una hamburguesa. I want a hamburger. So much easier, folks. So much easier. So that's it for the video. That's our pattern. Now, there are other verbs that'll work with this pattern, but I've definitely covered the most common ones. And that last one, I think we can get around using it all together. Just, put it over there. But hey, if you like, you can add it to your toolbox. But definitely those other ones, acabársele, perdérsele, rompérsele, and put them on your word list just like that so you remember that this is the pattern. If you liked the video, just do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.